We are excited to welcome you to today's Northwoods Financial Series session. The Northwoods Financial Series is a free series we host at Park City Credit Union. Every month we host a different educational session. My name is Lisa Krokramer. I am a member of the Park City marketing team and I will be your moderator. And I am excited to introduce to you our presenter, Stephanie Greenway. Stephanie Greenway is Park City Credit Union's Minocqua branch manager. Stephanie began her career with Park City in 2010 as a member service representative. She later moved into the role of member financial representative and then MSR Supervisor before earning the position of branch manager. Stephanie has a great love for the outdoors, and in her free time, she enjoys fishing, camping, and snowmobiling. So thank you for joining us today, Steph. We are so glad to have you here with us. And if you all don't know, April is National Credit Union Youth Month. We've got lots of fun activities going on at the credit union this month. And for our Northwoods Financial Series session, we want to do a special session that ties into Youth Month. So today, Steph's going to be taking us through ways you can teach your kids about money. So Steph, I will let you take it away.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. I want to thank everybody for joining today because I know we all want the best for our kids. What the best is not, it doesn't mean that we want them to have the best clothes, the latest video games, the coolest toys, and the coolest gadgets out there. What I mean by having the best for our kids is we want them to be safe and secure. We want them to be kind and giving. And you always want them to grow up living a financially smart future in their life. So again, thank you for wanting to teach your kids about the importance of money and how it works for us to do the things we want to do and live a fulfilled life. So what I really want to get into is the understanding of how you can't start too early. So you know those little kids that are always sticking those coins in their mouth when they're young. That's actually one of the best times to start talking about money in the kid's life. You may be shocked to hear that, but by the time they're 7 years old, they have already formed habits and attitudes about money just from watching you. So starting with the basics at a young age is very important. Let them see you purchase items with cash. Understanding coins and cash are very important to their growth. If you're paying with a debit card or a credit card, explain this is money that you're using to make these purchases, not just that it's a piece of plastic. Share your receipts with them to help understand that each item costs money. This is great as they start to get a little bit older, preschool age and on. They understand that already. The funny part about the next one is, does the tooth fairy still leave money? This is really going to date me because the tooth fairy, when I was a kid, it was 25 cents, and I was really excited when it was a half dollar. I've heard parents now giving their kids $5 and $10 for the tooth fairy. To me, that's a lot of money when I was young. So start working out some plans for that money and teaching from that point on. There's so many educational money apps for kids out there that we'll go through a little bit later. But I just wanted to touch base on thinking about those things first. Seeing everyday activities as teachable moments is the biggest thing that you can start doing at a very young age. A good example is you and your family are out for a walk at night or during the afternoon, and you come across a guy on a pole doing some work, and the kid's all excited about this guy on the pole. You can actually convert that conversation moving more towards he is out making money for his family, he has a job. Start working at the factor of describing your own job, how you make money for the family. Also, you can start pointing out other things like their school bus driver or the crossing guard that they have, the police officer, the person running their own business. Think of that one. You go pick up cupcakes and you're meeting the business owner. How huge that would be to start teaching your kid about the possibilities of owning their own business. And would that be exciting you made that happen for them just by teaching them at such a young age about money. Another item you can take a look at to start teaching these teachable moments is your trip to the zoo. You know, most parents give them a set amount of money of how much they can get for bear juice or the niblets that go to the goats or whatever. Once that money is gone, it's gone. And so setting that example of how they made that choice to spend that money and now it's gone, that's a good teachable moment. Also, when you're going to the store, there's always that something at the checkout counter that they want. But if you stick to your specific item that you went there for, it's very embedded into their head that there's now a difference between wants and needs. So making sure that you're using every moment to its advantage to be a teachable moment, there's many ways you can do that. Just wanted to share a few though. Start showing them that stuff costs money. Remember to set a good example. And it's good to explain spending decisions. I realize this sounds strange, but imagine your child's mind when you are off buying cars, electronics, new clothes. They see you buying on a whim and don't understand the needs. Take the time to explain these purchases. You're not justifying the purchase, but you are telling them why you are buying this for the family to get to work. We need a different car. You know, those items are big in a kid's mind. So please take that time to do that. Teach innovation and inspiration. So what I mean by this is teaching them about buying name brand versus generic brands, like Keebler cookies versus a Great Value brand. Show them the price difference between that. Can we skip it this week because we still have a little bit in the pantry that we don't really need this purchase this week or this pay period? Bulk items versus buying a six-pack of something. Let them do the math for that. What a teachable moment that is when you take a six-pack of toilet paper and make them figure out how much a roll that is versus if you bought it in a case or a 24-pack. Figuring out the math and how much you've spent on that. Is this item available at a discount store? Can I buy it at a Dollar Tree and get two of them for the price of one versus what I'm buying it at Walmart or somewhere else? Take a look at the options of discount stores. The biggest one is, can I borrow it? Can I borrow it from a friend, a family member, or a free source like a library? Or can I rent it cheaper than what I can buy it for? You know, getting them involved in watching you make those smart financial decisions and innovative ways to come up with how to purchase something or borrow it or find a lesser way to pay for it. Playing the home bill game. This is kind of fun to do with kids. Teach them how to read your electric bill. And some night at dinner, do a brainstorming of how you could cut your electric bill down. And then for the next couple of months, execute those ideas. Can I unplug the TV that only gets used once every 6 months when Uncle Joe and his wife come to visit? That downstairs TV never gets used except for that time. Unplug it. Unplug the lamps that are not being used. Unplug any of the electronics that are not being used or don't need to be plugged in all the time. And let's see what that next light bill brings. Let them be a part of that and teach them how they can save money on your home monthly bills. Teaching them about needs and wants are very huge. And the reason I have an island on this photo is that might be the best way to teach this to a young child. So when you would ask a young child what you need to survive on this island, what do you think their statement is going to be to you? Oh, I need a ball. I need my telephone. I need, my friends along. I need something other than what we would look at as the necessity sometimes would be their answer. So taking that and turning that around in their mind is, no, I need water to survive. I need food to survive. I need shelter. I need clothing, warm clothing. And I need a way to take care of my hygiene and health care on that island. So those are the necessities I need. So playing that island game with a kid really makes them stop and look at what I need. My phone is not going to work on that island, so having that conversation with them. I could make a toy out of a coconut that falls out of that tree. That can be a ball. Games, I can use the shells or the pebbles on that beach and create a game out of some of those. So just really pushing what the needs are to teach them at a young age really helps set that stage as we go further in life. Teaching delayed gratification. Keeping to what is on your list. That's a hard task for any one of us to do, more or less to teach that to a child. But if they see you being gratified with what's on your list, being grateful that you have, that you can purchase these items and keeping it to just that really sets home with them. Wait 24 hours before making this purchase. I think this is the hardest for anybody at any age. Believe me, I am the person in the sale aisle, the clearance aisle, and saying, what a great price this is. I really could use that. But when I stop and look at what I bought, within 2 weeks after I purchased it, and I've never taken it out of the box or never looked at it, 90% of the time I am returning that. So if I would have just waited that 24 hours, I probably wouldn't have purchased it to begin with, or I didn't need it. So just teaching yourself to take a delayed gratification, your child will also learn that same behavior. So like the emoji shows, just wait. Take some time before you make that impulse purchase. It really does make a difference. So be content. This is such a true statement. So being content starts with you. If your child sees you are content and grateful for what you have, they will also grow up that way and not need or want the want so much. Teach them about peer pressure. So teach them that new car doesn't have to be a new car on their 16th birthday. Mom and Dad's, as they would say, hand-me-downs is just as good. It gets me from point A to point B. 90% of the time, the insurance is going to be cheaper, and they still can drive their friends around and have fun in that just as much as they would a new car. So teaching them that peer pressure doesn't need to be there for them. I grew up in that time where, this will really date me also. Guess jeans were popular back in my day. And my parents did wonderful things with teaching me about money and what I wore for attire, because you could they gave me a $100 bill for Christmas or birthday or whatever and said, spend it how you want to spend it, because they knew I was the peer pressure child who wanted the Guess jeans. But I made the choice, after you see how much something costs, I can have one pair of them or I can have 3 pairs of Levi's at that time. I was grateful to have that experience growing up. My parents taught me that at a very young age. So peer pressure, just having a conversation with kids about, you don't have to have the best of the best clothes or the best video games or the newest gadgets. That's huge. Social media influences, how we all have social media influences these days. You see the $10,000 birthday party bash, you see the $20,000 wedding, and do we need that? No, we don't. So teaching kids at a very young age about social media, because they're all on it. They're all on it from the point much younger than any of us ever were. So they are learning those influences much younger. So if we can teach them to not be influenced by that so much, that will really help them in the future. So really at this point, I would like to talk about kids and how they can save. This is more about allowances, and I found some funny give and takes about allowances. Some people are for them and some people are not so much for them. But I did find one funny statement about giving an allowance just for your kid breathing. Do we give your kid money for breathing? I thought that was kind of funny, but I stopped and I thought about that a little bit, and I went, you know, my parents didn't give me an allowance just to exist or breathe. I had to work for that. I had to work for that allowance. So I understood it after I sat and thought about it a little bit more. I thought it was kind of funny, but yeah, they look at paying for chores done around the house as a learning experience for that allowance. So the big thing is do piggy banks work? I think piggy banks work for younger children who still like to hear the jingle jangle of change in the piggy bank, but when they get to a point where you're actually trying to teach them about being a giving society and how to save for the future and what you have to spend for the month or the week, then you really need to start going either into the jars that they can see through and actually see what they're saving for, or, you know, how much they're saving, or you need to go to apps, which we'll get into a little bit later. So with the jars, they're labeled. You'll notice that just the snippet that I have there of the give, save, and spend. So with the saving, have them write down a goal of what they're saving for to help understand why they're saving. Maybe a bike. Put a bike in there, just so, you know, a picture of a bike on the front of it, or a Lego set, or an item that for a younger child that may only be a $5 or a $10 item, but they need to see what they are saving for, kind of a motivator. You may also notice the give. This is important to teach your child the importance of giving back. Maybe as simple as to a charity of their choice, or they have a fundraiser at school they want to give to, or a friend in need. Let them make the choice where those funds go to help, to feel like they belong part of the community. Eventually, they will also understand how good this feels to help people in need or give back to their community. So that's a huge learning curve. You will also notice that I've got a interest on a fourth jar called investing. So once kids get to be a little bit older, it's good to talk to them about investing. I'm focusing more on the younger children, but it is good to start talking to them about investing for their future, investing for, you know, college and cars, and, you know, start even a retirement account. You know, to start going into looking into their future, you may want to start that fourth jar. But that's a discussion for a later time. I also want to talk to you about the money apps for kids. There's some really amazing money apps out there. Earlier I talked about a cupcake store. There's an app out there that teaches your child how to be an entrepreneur and have a cupcake store and run it for profit, for loss, and see what's actually going to happen. There's ones out there like the Piggy Bot. The Piggy Bot is there's no money that's actually exchanging on Piggy Bot. The app serves as a digital IOU for you and your child and tracks how much the kids have earned and how much you are going to pay them for the chores that they do. And it pushes you a notification that, hey, it's time to pay them for their allowance for doing these chores. The savings spree, that one was kind of fun also. That one, it was teaching topics on a round game. It was a game show that the overall goal was to save money for nest eggs, or it could have been, they also had a game for a smaller version instead of the large savings for your future. It was smaller goal orientated. But just to let you know, there are some out there. Chore Monster, if that one also kept track of how much you're going to pay those youngsters for each chore that was done. So take some time and spend a little time on the web just to see what's out there. There are so many learning tools available to kids and fun projects that they can learn from. And you can learn how to teach your kid more of these ideas from there. So kids working for their wants. So identifying the wants. So when you have a smaller child and grandma has bought them the newest gaming console, and all of a sudden the child gets very bored with what games came with it. They want to buy the newest and the greatest games, or the game that their friends have. So you first have to identify with the child that this is a want, and having that conversation with them, and making them understand the cost of that new game. So actually spend some time, whether you're online looking to see how much that game costs, or you're going to a gaming store, or you can go to a store that sells secondhand ones. There's another way to save some money on it. But have them work with you finding the cost of that and learning how to understand that cost of that game. And having them earn money. So that should be a discussion that you are having with the child. How you are going to earn this money. Is it going to be an allowance? Is it going to be extra chores done around the house? Or is it going to be that you're raking your neighbor's leaves or shoveling some snow in the neighborhood? Or are you going to go half and half with them on it once they've raised enough money that you'll splurge for the other half of it? But that's a conversation that you guys need to have together so they understand that that want costs money and how they're going to get it. So one thing to remember, those little eyes are always watching you all the time. They're watching you fill the cart with wants and needs. They're watching you give back to the community, whether it's charitable contribution or whether it's just donating some of your time into the community. Set an example about earning money and learning to live within a budget. They see you slap down the plastic. They don't understand that, so make sure you're having that conversation that that is real money and how that is paid for. They even hear an argument about money. So remember one thing is that you are the #1 influence in your child's financial behavior. They are not taught this in school, so it is up to you to raise them to be mindful consumers, investors, savers, and givers. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about Park City Credit Union's youth accounts. We have a youth account called a Buzz Club account. So you can start that from day one of their birth once you have a Social Security number, and they're good until they are 14 years old. And they're an awesome account. We do pride ourselves in helping younger members learn how to save money. With the youth account, your child or grandchild will learn to save and budget for the future. And it only takes a minimal of $5 deposit to begin. And lucky it's the month of April, Park City Credit Union is going to give you that $5 to start that account for this month of April. And so they're designed, like I said, for 14 and under children. When they open the account, they get the piggy bank that's in the right-hand corner. So like I said, younger kids love the little piggy banks. They love to hear the jingle jangle of grandma's change going in there, especially. And they get to choose a prize every time the child comes in and makes a deposit into their account. So how fun is that? They love stickers. They love things that they can earn to put a deposit into their account. And if it's their birthday month and they come in and visit us, we will also give them a special gift. They just got to come and see us at Park City Credit Union. I also want to talk to you a little bit about when your child wants an account that they can access without you being along. Because the Buzz Club accounts, the child can deposit into it, but they can't withdraw. So you have to be the custodian for them that withdraws. So your child wants an account without you being along that they can withdraw out of. It's amazing how fast they grow up, so don't think that that's too far away. But they're called joint accounts with us. So as young as 12 years old, we will open a savings account for your child as long as you are the joint owner along with them. They can come in, they can transact on their own with that savings account. But as young as 14 years old, we will also do a savings account with a checking account, so they can start learning how to use a debit card. Those accounts you also need to have a joint owner on, so that does need a parent or a guardian to be on that account with them. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Steph. That was just so much information and so many great tips that you shared in there. We are at the Q&A portion of the presentation, so if you have a question for Stephanie, feel free to put it in the chat. I invite you to put your question in there. I just want to comment on a couple of the points you mentioned, and I had almost laugh when you started talking about the tooth fairy at the beginning. And everyone seems to have a different going rate for what they get for the tooth fairy. And if I did a really good job brushing and I kept my room clean, you know, $1 per tooth is pretty standard for me. And one day I woke up, looked under my pillow, and oh, I was so excited to see a $10 bill there. And I hope my parents don't mind me sharing this story, because I know it was typically, we had a different tooth fairy come that night, and that tooth fairy made a little, we'll just say a special deposit. So when I told my mom about this, she just said, wow, that must have been a really special tooth. But she also pointed out to me right away, you know, why don't we put that $10? Like, why don't we save that? That's a really nice tooth you got there. And like, that's a really nice, you know, amount of money you got from the tooth fairy. So just wanted to mention that. And those jars that you mentioned, you know, the give, save, spend, and invest ones, I think those are really great ideas. Well, honestly, until I started working at the credit union here, I had never heard of those kinds of jars before. I always just thought, you know, like the standard piggy bank or just the one jar you have. But like you mentioned, it's so important to be talking to them about, you know, charitable giving at a young age and starting to invest their money. And also, you know, it's not just about saving, but you can spend some of that money too and put it towards a saving goal. So thank you for bringing that up as well. So I wanted to just briefly ask about custodial and joint accounts, because that might be kind of a newer term for someone on the call. So if you set up a custodial account for your child, you know, once they reach a certain age, does that automatically convert to a different account at the credit union, or how would that work as they grow older?
No, unfortunately, Lisa, when a custodial account is set up, they don't convert into an individual account at any certain age. What ends up usually happening with most of our members is that the child turns to the point where they're going off to college. Then they come in and they say, all right, I don't need this account anymore. We can close that one out, and we can put the remainder of their funds into a joint account. A lot of times the custodial accounts or the Youth Buzz Club accounts are set up by mom and dad or grandma and grandpa. I have one for my own grandson. He doesn't know that, so I hope he's really not watching this. But I have one for my own grandson, and he gets so much of his money. Instead of buying all these gifts that he doesn't see at Christmas time and doesn't need because he gets so many, I take half of that money and I put into a custodial account for him. So hopefully when he turns 18, 19 years old, I can take that money and give it to him and put it towards college or put it towards what he wants. Because that's what I saved that money for, because he really didn't need all the gifts and the presents throughout the year, because he got so many from everybody else. That's what we've done with our money. So so I can close that account and I can give him that money. So I see that's what happens with a lot of our members is that grandma or grandpa have opened accounts. The children know about them most of the time, and so, but for me, like my grandson's in Green Bay, so he doesn't know he has this account. So they come in, they make their deposits as a family, and what happens is kids go off to college and this money now is going to them. Grandma and grandpa have decided, okay, they can use the money for whatever, and grandma and grandpa come in and close out the account, put the money into the kid's new individual account. Or usually sometimes what ends up happening is they're already ready for their own account. They're 14 years old, they want to learn how to use a checking account. Mom and dad have said, okay, this custodial account has kind of lost its need for us. Now we should take that money and let them take care of their own funds. And it's a teaching tool. So they'll close out the custodial account and put it into a joint checking account with the child as the primary and mom and dad as mom or dad, or even both as a joint owner on it. A lot of times we suggest even after they're 18 years old to keep an adult on it, because if they go off to college, they can still use this account. They have the debit card, so they can go use it anywhere, but it still gives the ability to mom and dad to come in and inquire onto the account and deposit into it and make a withdrawal if needed, and just keeps it going if they need something in a pinch. Mom and dad can be there for them.
Thank you for sharing that information and explaining that. We did have a question come in through the chat. What is the limit on the debit card for a child?
Oh, good question. Good question. I believe, and I don't really want to say this if this isn't accurate, but I do believe, because we do have a limitation on adults, but I don't know if there is a limitation that's restricted for a child. I would have to find that out and get back. I do know that they cannot have checks. They are allowed the debit card only. They cannot overdraft. So whatever is in that account, they've got access to. So, and they're not allowed to do a mobile deposit until they're 15 years old. So we do allow the mobile deposit to the checking accounts. But I'm not positive what the age limit or what the dollar amount limit is on that debit card. I know we have restricted them while they travel because parents are concerned about if they're traveling and they lose that card.
Yeah, so Mike, we'll look into that question for you, and we can always follow up after the call today. And if anyone else has questions, feel free to type them into the chat box. So you mentioned, Steph, as part of the Buzz Club Youth account that we have here, that when the child comes in and makes a deposit, they get a special gift. What age do you typically see the kids coming in to make deposits to put into their account?
It's fun because usually we see them 6 to 9 years old. They are really interested in making those deposits on their own. So they have fun with it then.
So I just want to give a last call for any other questions that are out there. Feel free to put them into the chat box. Steph, thank you for your presentation today. Just like I said, you shared so many tips, so much information. It really is so important at a young age to instill those financial habits so kids learn about, spending, saving, and giving and investing.
Oh, you're welcome, Lisa. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not seeing any more questions. So, Steph, is there anything you would like to say before we wrap up for the day?
Nope, I just want to say thank you again for joining.
Yes, and I want to thank everyone as well for attending today's Northwoods Financial Series session. Our next session will take place on Monday, May 3rd at 4:30 p.m. we are having a first-time homebuyer Q&A. So if you're in the market for a home or know someone that's in the market for a home, certainly encourage them to sign up for the session, and registration for that session will open tomorrow. So just head to the Park City website tomorrow and you can sign up for that session. So thank you again for attending, and we hope you have a great day.